Oversimplified history is often used by extremists and fanatics to prove their specific narrative. Marxists, Nazis, Islamists, fascists and nationalists of all sorts, whatever their ideology might be, they all do it. An oversimplified and therefore modified and plainly wrong history can serve to prove any point you want to make, as is sadly the case of the video I'm going to respond to. More about that in a moment. Hello everyone, I hope you're doing fabulously well. My name is Johannes and this is another one of my English videos. I haven't done one of those in a long time. This time it's about oversimplified history. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine from England sent me a video file and asked me to respond to it. So I sat down, unfortunately late at night. I was very tired and this is what happened. And so yeah, I'm going to do my first reaction video today to a file. I have no idea what it's all about and it's quite mysterious. Let's see what he has for me, and I just start the file and then let's see how it goes.
On Holocaust Remembrance Day, a new survey by Claims Conference finds that many Americans are forgetting the Holocaust. 31% of Americans and 41% of millennials believe that fewer than 2 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust, when the actual number is around 6 million. 41% of Americans and 66% of millennials have no idea what Auschwitz was. And 61% of all Americans don't know that Hitler was democratically elected. We will take a moment today.
Okay, I just have to stop it here. So obviously this video is about Nazi history. My friend knows that I work at the Documentation Center Nazi Party Rally Grounds and at the Memoriam Nuremberg trials here in Nuremberg. What the man in the video says is quite worrying. So many actually do not know the details about the Holocaust. Here in Germany, that part of our history is taught quite intensely in schools, and I should expect far better numbers in similar polls here. Maybe they should intensify the education about that in other countries too, because this is not just something that affects Germans. It's something that goes around the world. It's just it happened here and people should know about it. Why I stopped the video is something else, just a minor mistake. Hitler was not democratically elected, at least not in an American sense. His party didn't have a majority, a full majority in the Reichstag. He was appointed by then Reichspräsident Hindenburg. So he got into office according to the rules of the Weimar Constitution. That is true, but he wasn't really elected, at least not in an American sense. So that needs clarification, but it's just a minor mistake, minor detail. Let's just move on. Let's see what the man has to say, whoever that is.
In a very covfefe show to recall not just the history of that terrible event, but the 2,000-year record of Germany being the worst country in the history of the world. Then the mailbag. I'm Michael Knowles, and this is The Michael Knowles Show.
Yep, that's how that went. And to be honest, I was a bit angry with my friend at first. Had I seen the title of the video before, I wouldn't have bothered even looking at it, because it's obviously rubbish. The good Englishman knew that, so he sent me the file without the title and got me hooked. I watched the video to the end after that. The name of the man in the video, as you heard, is Michael J. Knowles. He is an American author and a media host, and the video is already a few years old. Then I decided to not make a typical reaction video. If I had done that, I would have had to stop after literally every sentence and correct the man, because there's so much wrong with what he says. So I decided to use just one point, the first one that he makes, and a few other bits and use just those as examples. And even with that, I have to be very, very brief and leave a lot of things out. Sorry about that. Just look up the details in a good history book. What really shocked me, though, was the fact that Michael J. Knowles actually has a degree in, and I couldn't believe it, history. I'm not kidding. According to his Wikipedia article, he has a BA, and not just from any university, but from Yale University. So he either knows he talks nonsense and doesn't care, or he didn't pay attention in his classes, or I don't know. It's astonishing, to say the least, because he ignores the basic rules of historic science, or any science, such as history is always complicated. Details matter, facts matter, context matters, nuance matters, and so on. Anyway, let's do this. Let's get into it. Let's get it over and done with.
Well, we didn't get dressed up for nothing.
At first, Mr. Knowles gives us an overview about what he thinks the country of Germany is responsible for.
Let's take a quick look at the scoreboard. Germany destroyed the Roman Empire. Germany cracked Christendom and caused the 30 Years' War, in which over 8 million people died. Germany gave the world communism. Germany destroyed Russia by starting the Russian Revolution. Germany then sent Vladimir Lenin on a sealed boxcar to make sure that Russia could never recover from that revolution. Germany then declared war on the world once, killing or wounding 41 some odd million people. Then Germany declared war on the world again, killing 80 million people and wounding many others. And finally, Germany succeeded in taking over Europe and flooded the West with millions of unvetted, overwhelmingly young, male, Muslim immigrants from the Middle East and North Africa, which has caused a radical surge in violent crime on that continent.
Wow, that is a lot of wrongdoings in 2,000 years of history for a country that is 150 years old. Towards the end of the video, Knowles states,
as a political entity from the 3rd century to the 21st century, Germany has incontrovertibly been the most uniformly terrible country in the history of the world.
And that is already the first problem. That entity, Germany as a country, was founded in January 1871. Before that, there were independent countries in this area. Before that, there was the Holy Roman Empire, which was a very loose, multilingual, multi-ethnic confederacy of more or less independent territories. Before that, there was the East Frankish Empire. Before that, there was the Frankish Empire. And before that were all sorts of things. And then we come to the migration period and the Roman Empire. What I just gave you was a very, very simplified overview, and I had to leave out a lot of historical details. For Mr. Knowles, however, even that is far too complicated. For him, all of that is just Germany. For his first argument, he takes us back to the migration period and to one of the Germanic peoples at the time. Knowles speaks about the Visigoths. But Germanic history is not really my field, so I used something that I strongly recommend using if you want to inform yourself about history. It's not the internet, it's books. Yes, good old-fashioned books. There are great universities around the world where great scholars research and teach history. And every now and then, those fantastic scholars, they write books. And how useful they are. You should really read them. Michael Knowles tells us this.
In 410, the Visigoths, a Germanic tribe led by Alaric, finally broke through the walls of the city of Rome itself. So in not that long a period of time, they made it all the way into Rome itself. They sacked the capital, they raped, killed, pillaged, and burned. They torched the entire city, and they kept on plundering the city for 3 full days. Germany managed to destroy the eternal city. It took them 3 days. Thank you, Germany.
The Goths were a Germanic people, probably from Sweden, who first settled in the estuary area of the river Vistula, nowadays Poland, on the coast of the Baltic Sea. By the way, Germany is here. What we do know is that in the 3rd century they moved and settled at the coast of the Black Sea. In the 4th century they split into the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths. The Visigoths started moving again for a number of reasons and migrated through the Balkans, gathering a lot of other folks, freed slaves, etc. on the way, and eventually ended up in the service of Rome. Yes, They essentially had become Romans, sort of, and even fought alongside the Roman army on several occasions. In 410, under the leadership of Alaric, they couldn't settle a compensation dispute with the Roman emperor and therefore sacked and plundered the city of Rome. That is true. Basically some sort of civil war. After that, the Visigoths first settled in the south of France and eventually in Spain, where their descendants still live today. But instead of "thank you Spain," which would also be nonsense, of course Michael Knowles goes with
"Thank you, Germany."
The basic mistake which Mr. Knowles makes here is that he equates German peoples with Germans. The English language is a bit problematic and imprecise in this regard. In modern German, there's a clear distinction between Germanic peoples and modern Germans. The term for Germanic peoples is Germanen. The term for modern Germans is Deutsche. The German language is called Deutsch. Modern German is basically a little more than 500 years old, so even a conversation with a Visigoth would actually be quite impossible for modern German. So if you blame modern Germans for something that a people who are remotely related to them did more than 1500 years ago, you might as well blame the French. Mr. Knowles mentions the Franks, who settled in what is now northern France and who actually gave France its name. In southern France, at least for a short period, were the Visigoths. Thank you, France, then?
Thank you, Germany.
Or England. England, maybe. The Angles and the Saxons were Germanic peoples too, as well as the Normans, who conquered England in 1066. So, thank you, England.
Thank you, Germany.
Or blame the Dutch. Same thing here.
Thank you, Germany.
The Swiss.
Thank you, Germany.
The Danish.
Thank you, Germany.
All of those countries can at least partly or completely trace their roots back to Germanic peoples. The real question is, why blame anyone for the downfall of an empire 1500 years ago? Empires fall. They all do, sooner or later. And there were multiple reasons for the downfall of the Roman Empire, least of all the Visigoths. Empires usually are also not very nice. They steal other countries. That is how you create an empire. As Eddie Izzard explains in one of his programs, he takes the British Empire as an example.
We stole countries. That's what you do. That's how you build an empire. We stole countries with the cunning use of flags. Yeah. You just sail around the world and stick a flag in. I claim India for Britain. And they go, you can't claim us, we live here. 500 million of us. Do you have a flag? We don't need a bloody flag. It's our country, you bastard. No flag, no country. You can't have one. That's the rules that I've just made up.
Michael Knowles obviously has a thing for oppressive regimes and empires. In the video, he also blames Germany for the downfall of the Tsarist Russian Empire, completely ignoring the fact that it was a brutally oppressive regime, which was replaced by an even more brutal regime. But the reason for that, by far, was not Germany. It was mainly the Tsarist regime itself. So that first bit with the Visigoths makes it already clear that Michael Knowles' video is not about real history or facts. It's purely a very childish blame game. And scapegoating a whole group of people for something that happened somewhere in history? What could possibly go wrong? Later, he continues in the same vein. He blames Germany for the Reformation and the splitting of Western Christianity, taking quotes by Martin Luther completely out of context and even misquoting him.
And he said of the Muslim invaders, quote, "I would rather be ruled by a wise Turk than a foolish Christian."
If anyone finds proof that Martin Luther really said that, congratulations, you'd be the first. In this bit, Michael Knowles even becomes quite a bit racist.
Luther fully embraced two aspects of the German national character that would come back to destroy the 20th century: hatred of Jews and cozying up to Muslim invaders.
National character? Really? He also blames Germany for Marxism. He claims Germany declared war on the world in 1914, which it didn't. If you want to know more about the start of World War I strongly recommend a book. Book, of course. Christopher Clark's Sleepwalkers. He's a professor of history at Cambridge University. I know it's a lot to read, but very interesting. And then he comes to the darkest chapter of German history, of course. And this is where my problem with that video really starts. Because, as I mentioned in my first attempt, in Germany, the education about that part of our history, Nazi dictatorship, World War II, and the Holocaust, of course, is very intense nowadays, and for many good reasons. We teach children in schools about the background of the events that took place in the 1920s, 1930s, and 40s. We want them to learn the facts, the truth, and the reasons behind it. Every school class visits a concentration campsite at least once. In addition to school education, there are always documentaries about that on the telly. Many museums, like the ones where I work, Stumblestones, look up what that is, and other places of remembrance around the whole country. People, and in particular children, need to understand how it really came to that, so that they never let it happen again. For that, they need the truth and the facts, as horrible and as unpleasant as they may be. Michael Knowles starts his video, rightfully, criticizing that people in his country forget about the Holocaust and don't learn history. And then he makes that video filled with scapegoating, falsehoods, and an oversimplified, and by that, wrong history. So he does exactly some of the things that we should have learned from history not to do. That doesn't necessarily make him an extremist or a radical in any form. It just makes him a hypocrite. The video also shows in many ways that Michael Knowles actually doesn't understand even the most basic background reasons for the things that happened and that led to the Holocaust. In Germany, we've learned that neither demonizing nor idolizing any country or any group of people is a good thing. In addition to all of that, Mr. Knowles ends the video with two blatant lies.
The particular policy that has implied is the flooding of Europe in just the last few years with unvetted Muslim migrants from the Middle East and North Africa. So as a result of this, you've seen the headlines, crime has skyrocketed in Europe.
Ever since 2015, you could hear that quite often. But there's just one problem with it. It's not true. Neither the crime statistics nor the personal experiences in European cities confirm it. If you don't look at specific right-wing websites or media outlets who promote that lie on the internet, life is absolutely fine in Europe, at least as it was before 2015. And especially compared to certain other countries on this planet, it's still very safe. I will add a link into the description where Feli from Germany deals with another video that tells the same wrong story and where she presents all the facts and all the statistics. And then Michael Knowles voices another lie.
So in 2017, just last year, Germany quietly started to integrate the armies of the Czech Republic and Romania into its own forces, into the Bundeswehr.
No, it didn't. Complete nonsense. Why would they? But to debunk that complete fabrication, I would have to do another long video, and I simply don't have the time for that. In early 2022, in light of the Russian war against Ukraine, several European governments, including Germany, decided to invest more into their military. But in 2018, when Michael Knowles claimed in the video Germany was building a huge army, that was utter nonsense. In reality, the Bundeswehr was then, and still is, in a really sad condition. Mr. Knowles has a huge audience. There will be people who believe and trust him with this, and other matters. And the consequences of such massive misinformation can be very dire. Something that history has already taught us. He even mentions the quote by Jorge Santayana, "If you don't know about your history, you're condemned to repeat it." He just doesn't seem to believe it, and certainly doesn't act upon it. Because the problem is what happened in Germany between 1920 and 1945. on a smaller scale has also happened in other countries. Same principles, same basic reasons for it. It is something universal. Racism, fascism, that's something universal and can happen again if people aren't aware of the things that were really leading up to it. With his video, Michael Knowles sets an extremely bad example. If he really knew much about the Holocaust and its background, he wouldn't make such a video. I have no idea why he does it. It just makes me sad and very, very frustrated. So much for today. Thank you for watching. There will be links to the original video and other interesting links in the description. Please leave a like if you want to, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye, adi.